America will aid Gaza without helping Hamas. This was U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's message as he arrived in Tel Aviv to cement the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But will cementing the ceasefire be enough? Is the U.S. trying to resolve the conflict or just trying to win brownie points for managing it temporarily? Let's start with a visit. It's like showing up at a wedding after the wedding is long over. Antony Blinken landed in Tel Aviv this afternoon after 11 days of war between Israel and Palestine and many days since the ceasefire was announced. He received a grand reception nonetheless. Blinken was welcomed on the tarmac by Israel's Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi. He is the highest-ranking American official to visit the region since Joe Biden assumed office. For Israel, this visit is very important. So after his arrival in Tel Aviv, Blinken was taken straight to Jerusalem, where he met Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his official residence. There were handshakes and photo ops, followed by a press briefing. Blinken reiterated America's support to the U.S. for having the right to defend itself. But he also addressed the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Netanyahu echoed these sentiments, but he said that peace with Palestine will not be possible until Israel is recognized as an independent Jewish state.
We know that to prevent a return to violence, we have to use the space created to address a larger set of underlying issues and challenges. And that begins with tackling the grave humanitarian situation in Gaza and starting to rebuild. The United States will work to rally international support around that effort while also making our own significant contributions, including some that I'll announce later today. We'll work with our partners closely with all to ensure that Hamas does not benefit from the reconstruction assistance.
We need to work together to expand normalization between Israel and Arab and the Muslim world and deepen the peace treaties that we already have. We discussed also how to improve the lives and the conditions of the Palestinians, the humanitarian conditions in Gaza, including the question of the return of our MIAs and 2 civilians who are there, as well as building economic growth for Judea, Samaria, the West Bank, with international cooperation and participation. As for peace itself with the Palestinians, a formal peace, I think President Biden was absolutely correct when he said, you're not going to get peace until Israel is recognized as an independent Jewish state.
After Israel, it was Palestine's turn. Blinken traveled to Ramallah in West Bank and met Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The meeting took place late Tuesday evening. The details of what went down are yet to emerge. In the meantime, let's tell you the remaining itinerary of Blinken's visit. On Wednesday, the U.S. Secretary of State will travel to Cairo, Egypt, to meet President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. And on the last day of his tour, he will visit Amman to meet Jordan's King Abdullah II. Both the visits are aimed at solidifying the peace process between Israel and Palestine, or the ceasefire more like, and highlighting America's role as peacemaker. Now, all of this begs the question, where was America all this while? Israel and Hamas fought each other for a total of 11 days. They exchanged rockets and gunfire. They destroyed buildings and hospitals, vowing to erase each other's existence. 250 people died on the Palestinian side, 13 on the Israeli side. These figures include women and children, people who had nothing to do with the conflict. What did the U.S. do as the biggest stakeholder in this conflict? It first ignored the clashes. It pretended they were no longer America's problem to solve, then issued statements loaded with diplomatic jargon that helped no one really. And finally, after pressure from lawmakers, Joe Biden made phone calls demanding an immediate de-escalation. So America cannot really take credit for what's happening right now. It was Egypt that brokered the actual truce between both the sides with the help of France and Jordan. The White House claimed to be, quote-unquote, acting behind the scenes, and that it was engaged in quiet diplomacy as Israel and Gaza burned. Now, when things are better, America wants to be seen leading from the front, but the damage is already done. The clashes may have ended, the animosity hasn't though. This afternoon, a Palestinian man stabbed and wounded 2 Israelis in East Jerusalem. One of the victims was a soldier. And on the Israeli side, the police have launched a wave of mass arrests, targeting not only those involved in the violence, but anyone who took part in the demonstrations. They're calling it Operation Law and Order. Since the 9th of May, some 1,550 people have been put behind bars under this operation. Many more arrests are planned in the days to come. The Palestinians say the purpose of these arrests is only to intimidate and settle scores for their political positions. They say if the detentions do not stop, another escalation could begin. So it's not clear if Antony Blinken's visit will quote-unquote cement the ceasefire. The fact is, America has no long-term strategy or comprehensive plan to maintain peace in the region. The only one who benefits from this visit is Washington itself, pretending to act like it is leading from the frontier. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.